My topic of the interview is City as a Set of Experience. And my interviewee is DaveFeehan, and he is the president and CEO of the Citless Consultants, and he has many experiences assisting downtown and community organizations, and as well as local governments. I will cover 4 topics: experience economy, the creative class, by nature of gentrification, and environmental equity. Every city claims to be clean, livable, safe, and walkable, and he mentions that it is like playing poker and all the qualities are like the table stakes, and if you don't have the stakes, you are not allowed to play the game. In the book The Experience Economy by Joseph Pine, people are not really interested in buying goods, but experiences. And businesses should be orchestrate memorable events for their customers, and that memory itself becomes the product, which is the experience. And cities are creating 4 E's of the experience to draw people: educational, aesthetic, entertaining, and escape. For example, museums can offer escape experience taking you back to different dynasties along with educational and entertaining value. And the 3 T's of innovation is drawn from Rich Florida's books, The Rise of the Creative Class. And the 3 T means technology, tolerance, and talent. Talent-based cities attracts people of different nationalities, races, ages, and communities will position themselves like, this is who we are, and this is what we can offer you. And with those great schools, business parks, and high-tech company headquarters, the cities has everything it needed to attract entrepreneurs. And so this is why so many graduates and digital startups are flocking to these large cities like San Francisco, Boston, and Austin. Those cities were fun, open, and tolerant. And their music festivals, the clubs, and the trendy cafes provides the perfect atmosphere for those creative class. And this creative class workers, they're more flinky and they're able to choose where they'll live, and also the economic development is sure to follow. Florida was essentially holding up a mirror to an urban revival that was already well under the way, but his findings are actually encouraging cities to compete for a place on his list. And the message was irresistible for the policymakers across the globe. And soon, almost every town has its own art and creativity strategy, innovation hub, and sometimes pop-up poetry corner. And there's also criticism that his works can result in gentrification, but he believes that everything is gentrified now. A better school is gentrification, and empowering artists is gentrification, and even working to improve the condition of the parks is also gentrification. And his solution is that we might build a new inclusive urbanism for all. And he says that it is the time for new thinking. And many of the solutions might not work, but we need to try things and talk about new solutions. And so we need incentives for greater developments, not only of the housing in general, but of affordable housing in particular. And Dave also agrees that gentrification is not necessarily a bad thing, and the by nature of gentrification is like the yin and yang in Chinese. And here are the video clips from our interview.
Gentrification can result in the preservation and restoration of historic neighborhoods when buildings have been abandoned and they're empty, and people buy them and refurbish them, and particularly people now are buying them and trying to create net zero buildings that are super energy efficient. And if more people live in these old buildings, then we're not using up all these resources to build new houses. So gentrification can be a very good thing. And when middle income people move into a neighborhood, they often demand better services, better police services, better street cleaning, better schools. So the people who live in the neighborhood benefit from the new people moving in. On the other hand, there can happen where a very affordable neighborhood or even lower income neighborhood experiences gentrification, and we have displacement, and people are forced to move out because their building has been sold and they can't afford to live there anymore. So I think when people say gentrification, you have to say, what kind of gentrification are we talking about? If you think about Pittsburgh, for example, in Lawrenceville, you could buy a house in Lawrenceville 10 years ago for $50,000. Today, that same house is going to cost you $500,000 or something like that. Maybe 5 to 10 times as much. And what it means is the people that used to live in Lawrenceville can't afford to live in Lawrenceville anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that's it's true in some cases and not true in others. If a person holds onto their house and fixes it up, there's no reason why they can't continue to live there. But what they may find is if they own the house, some developer will come along and say, I'll give you, $100,000 more for your house than you paid for it. And with that money, then you can move over across the river to Edna or Shaler Township or one of the, towns, the older towns where they haven't gentrified, and you can buy a really nice house for a very low price. For example, I lived and worked in McKeesport, and you can buy a really nice house in McKeesport for $100,000 or $150,000.
In this sense, I think a city should be inclusive and tolerant for differences and try to make the minority groups into consideration. What is needed is equity, where everyone gets the support they need. And the problem of environmental equity can be actually broken down into two categories, which is the fair treatment and the meaningful involvement. Fair treatment means that no single set of the population should be disproportionately affected by environmental crisis as a result of laws or policies. And meaningful involvement means that the groups can offer input regarding decisions that affect their health or the environment. And the involvement also means that their input will be taken seriously when making decisions. Equity is not achieved without justice. So the first thing to do is to understand the difference. With more people of color from diverse backgrounds with different life experiences and working in the environmental sector, not only can the public understand the difference between the two, but also push these efforts forward and make measurable progress in the communities at risk across the country. And that is the end of my video. Thank you for watching.